When a woman doesn't value you, it doesn't just affect the relationship, it affects both of your lives in ways you might not even realize. But the pain, the silence, and the power you reclaim when you stop chasing validation, that hurts her the most. This video isn't about revenge or bitterness, it's about the profound power of self-respect, emotional discipline, and silence. The Stoic philosophy teaches us that by focusing on ourselves and practicing inner peace, we reclaim our personal power in any relationship. In this video, we'll discuss 5 key actions that hurt a woman the most when she realizes she didn't value you. These actions aren't about payback, they are about self-elevation. So, let's dive in. In relationships, one of the most common traps men fall into is the constant need to explain themselves. When things go wrong, when misunderstandings arise, or when emotions run high, there's often this intense urge to justify our actions, words, and decisions. We feel the pressure to make things right, to explain why we did what we did, and to prove our intentions were pure. But here's the reality: constantly explaining yourself only weakens your position. When you stop explaining yourself, it shifts the power dynamic. No longer do you feel the need to convince her of your worth. No longer do you find yourself on the defensive, battling her assumptions or misunderstandings. You create a distance, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. You understand that your worth is not something that needs to be validated by another person's approval. At first, this might feel uncomfortable. The silence may seem like an empty void, especially if you've been in the habit of talking things through endlessly. But silence, in this case, is not the absence of communication. It's a powerful form of communication in itself. It says that you're no longer willing to play the game of justifying your every action. It says that you know your worth and you don't need to plead for her understanding. It says that the only opinion that matters is your own. This doesn't mean you stop communicating altogether. It doesn't mean you shut down emotionally or mentally. On the contrary, it means you choose to communicate differently. Instead of explaining, you begin to embody your values. Instead of engaging in endless debates, you become a man of action. Your behavior becomes the explanation. The power in stopping the explanation is that it shifts the focus. It forces her to confront her own assumptions, her own feelings, and her own insecurities. When you stop explaining yourself, she can no longer project her doubts or insecurities onto you. She is forced to reckon with the silence, and in that silence, she begins to realize that you no longer need her approval. You no longer need her to see things the way you do. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." This is the essence of what happens when you stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying your actions to others and focus on embodying the values that define you. Instead of seeking validation from her, you validate yourself. You align your actions with your principles, and that speaks volumes without a single word. In a world where we're constantly bombarded by external opinions, where social media, friends, and even family often urge us to explain ourselves, the true power lies in not needing to explain. When you embrace this, you regain your strength. The need to explain disappears, and in its place, there is a quiet, unshakable confidence. You stand firm, grounded in who you are, without needing to justify it to anyone. When you choose this silence, this self-assurance, it's the most powerful message you can send. You're not angry, you're not bitter. You simply value yourself enough to know that your worth does not need to be defended. This isn't about proving anything to her. It's about proving to yourself that you are enough, with or without her approval. And that, my friend, is when the real shift happens. You stop explaining, and suddenly you're not just a man who can stand his ground. You're a man who knows his value, and that's what leaves the deepest impact. It's the quiet strength of self-respect, and that is far more powerful than any argument you could ever have. In many relationships, emotional chaos can become a battleground. Often, one partner brings constant turbulence, arguments, confusion, emotional ups and downs. While some people thrive in this dynamic, for others, it becomes draining. But when you choose peace over the chaos, something powerful happens. It's not about escaping the relationship. It's about creating a sense of inner peace that is unaffected by external turbulence. Choosing peace doesn't mean you give up. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you prioritize your emotional well-being over engaging in endless conflicts. You stop feeding into the drama and instead cultivate a peaceful, centered approach to life. This not only restores your strength, but also shows her that you value your own tranquility more than the emotional turmoil she might bring. In relationships, when one person continuously creates chaos and the other chooses peace, the balance shifts. The one who constantly stirs the emotional pot might think they're in control, but when you stop reacting to the drama, they lose that control. When you choose peace, you no longer give her the power to destabilize you emotionally. Instead, you stand firm in your resolve to remain calm, collected, and grounded. This isn't about ignoring her emotions or avoiding important conversations. It's about recognizing when things are getting out of hand and choosing not to engage in the storm. By doing this, you create a safe emotional space for yourself, and in turn, you communicate that your peace is not up for negotiation. You are not a pawn in the game of emotional volatility. You are a force of calm, and that power is undeniable. Stoic wisdom teaches us that we can't control the external world, only how we respond to it. By choosing peace, you align with this principle. Instead of allowing external circumstances to determine your emotional state, you take control. You decide to be at peace, regardless of the chaos around you. And this decision, this power over your own emotional state, is more powerful than any external influence. When you prioritize your peace, you are not only taking care of yourself, but you are also sending a powerful message. You are saying that you are no longer willing to engage in unnecessary turmoil. You are saying that your emotional equilibrium matters more than any fleeting drama. And when she sees this, when she realizes that she cannot provoke you into chaos, it hits her deeply. When a relationship feels unbalanced, it's easy to fall into the trap of competing for attention. You might start to feel like you have to fight for her time, for her love, for her acknowledgement. It might look like constantly reaching out, trying to make plans, or even putting your own life on hold to meet her needs. But here's the truth. When you compete for her time, you lose the respect you deserve. You make yourself a servant of her approval, and that's not where power lies. True power comes when you stop competing for her time, when you stop chasing her attention and stop rearranging your life to accommodate her whims. You begin to elevate your own standards. You stop being the one who seeks her presence and start being the one who commands respect with your absence. When you are no longer always available, when you are no longer always chasing, she starts to notice. She notices the silence. She notices the absence. Your time becomes valuable again. And when you stop competing for her time, it's not an act of punishment or anger. It's an act of self-respect. You start living your life on your own terms. You stop making her the center of your universe, and instead, you become the center of your own life. You focus on your passions, your goals, and your own personal growth. You realize that your life is complete on its own, and you no longer need to bend over backward to earn her attention. When you elevate your standards and stop competing for her time, it forces her to see your worth. It forces her to realize that she can't just take your attention for granted. She realizes that your time is precious, and she has to earn it, just as you have to earn hers. This shift is incredibly powerful, and it is often the moment when she truly begins to value you, when she realizes you're not just someone who's always available, but someone who lives a full, meaningful life on his own. In Stoic philosophy, there's a saying, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In this case, by choosing not to compete for her time, you are reacting to the situation with strength and maturity. You're no longer driven by neediness or desperation. Instead, you're driven by your own sense of worth and the understanding that your time is valuable. And this shift, though subtle, is deeply impactful. In any relationship, the emotional landscape can sometimes become confusing. Mixed signals, ambiguous behavior, unclear communication, or emotional manipulation can leave you wondering whether she's truly interested or if she's just playing a game. Many men feel the need to react to these mixed signals to try and decipher what she really means or wants. But here's the key to reclaiming your power. You don't need to react to her mixed signals anymore. When you stop reacting to these signals, you stop participating in the emotional game. She might expect you to chase after her, to try and decode every inconsistency in her behavior, or to fight for her attention. But when you refuse to engage, the game ends. The power shifts back to you. You no longer let her control your emotional state by sending conflicting messages. You choose not to react, and that is a form of strength that she will feel. Think about it. When you stop reacting to her mixed signals, you are showing her that you are no longer a player in her emotional manipulation. You're no longer chasing after her approval or trying to get her to settle on how she feels. Instead, you focus on your own emotional clarity and stability. This is the essence of Stoic thought. The world may send us signals, but we are not slaves to them. We react based on our inner principles, not based on the unpredictable actions of others. This shift in behavior doesn't come from a place of anger or frustration. It comes from a place of emotional control and self-awareness. By not reacting to her mixed signals, you demonstrate emotional maturity. You are no longer moved by her actions. You're unmoved by the back and forth, and this quiet confidence is incredibly powerful. In fact, when you stop reacting to her mixed signals, you force her to take responsibility for her own feelings and behavior. She can no longer hide behind the ambiguity of her actions. She must either make a decision or face the reality that her games no longer have an effect on you. This change, though subtle, is one of the most powerful ways to reclaim your emotional sovereignty and show her that you are in control of your own feelings, not at the mercy of hers. Stoic philosophy teaches us to not be disturbed by things outside our control. When you stop reacting to her mixed signals, you are embodying this Stoic principle. You are taking control of your emotional reactions, no longer letting external circumstances determine your internal state. This, in turn, makes you more resilient and emotionally independent. Perhaps the most painful thing a woman can experience is seeing a man find happiness without her. When a man is no longer dependent on her for his emotional fulfillment, when he no longer needs her approval or presence to feel happy, this can be a profound shift. He no longer looks to her for validation. Instead, he looks inward, finds joy in his own life, and pursues his passions with vigor. And when she notices this change, it hits her like a ton of bricks. When you start smiling without her, it's not about turning your back on her or punishing her. It's about finding your own happiness, your own joy, independent of the relationship. It's about investing in yourself, whether that's through your friendships, hobbies, career, or personal growth. When you are truly content with who you are, without relying on her to complete you, it sends a clear message. You no longer need her to feel whole. This can be a hard pill for some women to swallow, especially if they're used to being the center of attention or the source of emotional support. She might begin to realize that she's no longer the most important person in your life. You've found peace, fulfillment, and happiness on your own terms. And when she sees that, it forces her to confront the reality of your absence, not out of bitterness, but out of your own self-growth. In Stoicism, true happiness is not dependent on external validation. It comes from within. As Epictetus said, happiness depends upon ourselves. When you start smiling without her, you are living this principle. You are cultivating happiness that is rooted in your values, your purpose, and your self-worth. You are no longer waiting for someone else to make you feel complete. You've learned to complete yourself, and this ultimately is the most liberating thing you can do for yourself. When you are no longer emotionally reliant on her, you regain your strength. You no longer feel the need to seek her approval or validation. Instead, you enjoy life, pursue your passions, and smile because you have found peace and joy from within. When she sees that, it's not just her that suffers. It's the realization that she lost something special, something powerful, and now she can't get it back. To wrap up, let's reflect on the 5 powerful actions that hurt her the most when she doesn't value you: stopping the explanations, choosing peace over chaos, stopping the competition for her time, not reacting to mixed signals, and smiling without her. None of these actions are about revenge. None of them are born from anger or bitterness. They come from a place of self-respect and emotional control. The key takeaway is simple. When she doesn't value you, walk away with self-respect. The moment you stop seeking validation and begin to live for yourself, the power shifts. You regain your strength. You show her that your emotional sovereignty isn't up for grabs. And even though it might not be obvious at first, she will feel the absence of your presence more deeply than any confrontation or argument ever could. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." You don't need to prove anything to her. You don't need to fight for her affection. The most powerful thing you can do is choose peace. Focus on your growth and reclaim your own happiness. By doing so, you not only take control of your own life, but you show her what true strength looks like: unshakable, unbothered, and confident. If you've walked this path, you're not alone. We are all on this journey of self-improvement, self-respect, and Stoic wisdom. Don't forget to subscribe as we continue to explore how Stoic principles can elevate our lives and relationships.